Hello, this is Kindome, and I am going to walk through something fun I've been doing lately with Tidal, working with large melodic sequences in Tidal. Actually, I should change this to long melodic sequences in Tidal. Yeah, so specifically melodic sequences that have a kind of a rhythmic melody, 16th notes, eighth notes, what have you, kind of a sequence of notes, and then using the striate function in Tidal to kind of gain access to individual notes within that sequence. So to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about, I've got a sequence I created here in FL Studio, which is my audio environment for producing sounds, and it sounds like this. So you get the idea. So I've exported this sample into my dirt samples folder. It's called fun. So I'm now going to have fun with fun. And all right, let's get started. So I'm going to set the tempo of Tidal to the tempo of my sequence, which is at 100 BPM. And let's just kick this off. So I'm now taking the fun sample and am granulizing it into 128 pieces and then slowing the whole thing down by 16, and sounds like this. So pretty close to the original. I do have the dirty compressor turned on, so you may hear a little bit of compression or distortion effect there. But otherwise, there we go. So cool. We now have the sample chopped up into 128 pieces, all being played back in succession with no gaps because I'm at the same tempo. But now, one thing that's kind of fun that I've been doing is just adding some degradation to this. So if I do a degrade by 0.5, this will randomly remove 50% of the chunks coming back, and will sound like this. So kind of interesting. I can't help but start working with some drums as well. I can't do anything without drums. Yeah. Okay. So let's just do this real quick. And now it sounds like this. All right. So already that's kind of cool. And to fill in the gaps, you may want to add a little bit of delay. Your mileage may vary depending on your samples. Now, I've already got delay and reverb on my sample to begin with, so it may or may not be a good idea to add more delay, but I think it sounds all right. And it sounds like this. Let's try this value, see what this sounds like. So that's kind of cool. Just a kind of a simple little thing you can do with degrade by. But the bigger thing, I guess, to listen for when doing the degrade is that you now can hear individual notes from the original sequence when we remove notes around them. I did not explain that very well. So just listen back. All right, so I didn't, in that last sequence there, I didn't get a great example, but you can actually, in I think one, maybe two cases, you could hear an individual note from that sequence being played. Let me try it again real quick here. Yeah, like that one. Yeah, so you may get an isolated note. Now I'm using degrade by. You could get more precise access to a single note from striate by using like the gain function or within or something like that, the within function. I'm just kind of randomly just hoping to get something. But the point is, you can get individual notes out of this, which I think is kind of fun. Add a little bit of delay to fill in those gaps. It's kind of cool. But now we can do things. You can obviously rearrange this sequence of notes now. We could do things like shift the beat around. We could say, maybe for this portion, we could increase the density. We could say for this portion, maybe, I don't know, we change the speed to this, just making it up. And so now we can really manipulate this sequence. Sounds like this. So that's pretty cool. We're kind of doing some on-the-fly remixing, I guess you could say. It's starting to sound less and less like the original as we go. Another thing you can do is actually layer the individual chunks on top of each other with different speeds, and you can kind of achieve some harmonies of sorts. So you can achieve specific harmonies if you know the exact ratios of what to play back or what the playback speed should be. I don't really know those very well. I just use some nice kind of round numbers, which may not be exactly the right pitches, but I like the way it sounds. So if we do something like this, I now got a pattern here, and I've got a pattern here that are layered on top of each other, and we now can achieve some sort of harmony effect. It kind of sounds like this. So that's kind of cool. And we can even go a little crazier here if we wanted to do something like this. Maybe change up the kind of the entire key or chord. That's not the right way of explaining it, but maybe half the time we can play it at a completely different interval. Maybe it's starting to just sound like noise, but in any case, we've got control over the individual notes in the sequence now, at least through some randomization, but it really results in some interesting behavior. And then we can, of course, apply functions on that sequence of notes, whether that's shifting the beat around, using the within function to do something to a specific part of that sequence, what have you. So the last thing I wanted to mention, and this is kind of a generic striate word of caution. Now if we increase the playback speed to 120 beats per minute, it'll sound fine. That's because we're taking the same sequence, the same sample, chopping it up into the same number of pieces that are the same length. We're just playing them back faster. But if we decrease the tempo, we actually end up with gaps between the notes or between the chunks. Now if I remove the degradation, you can kind of hear those gaps better, and I'll remove the delay as well. You can kind of hear these gaps. Actually, I'll remove the slow notes too, but sounds like this. Oh, change the tempo. So you can hear those gaps now because the chunks aren't big enough to fill them up. This is just kind of a known thing with striate. It's not a it's the expected behavior. You can use the striate prime version of this function to try and fill in those gaps. However, since our sequence has notes timed at specific places, the larger we make our chunks with striate prime, we're going to get some inclusion of the next note in the sample as a result. It'll sound something like this. Maybe that's the effect you're going for. Your mileage may vary with your particular sequence, but in any case, just something to kind of watch out for with striate. You have to kind of work with it carefully depending on your tempo and your particular sequence. Yeah, so that's really all I wanted to show. So hopefully this was helpful to somebody watching out there in YouTube land, video land, wherever you are, and hope you enjoyed. So see you in the future.